optimizing, doing something. Welcome to the chat room. Says we're live. Hey, hi, hello to the stream and anyone out there. Yep, sounds like we're live. All right, cool. We did it. Success. We're here. All right. Okay. So, welcome on in. Anyone who's here, we'll probably give people a couple minutes to filter in, say hi in chat. Anyone who rolls on up. We could probably start with some introductions today for everyone, because we are probably new faces. Hey, there you go. People showing up in the chat. We are here. We're ready to go. First time chats, lots of people. Okay, so my name is Grilled Cheese Sandwich, also known as Nick. I am the community manager at Million on Mars. I am the one who's active in the Discord and says hi to everyone all the time. Lamp, you want to say hi?
Is one of my favorite things to do. So you can call it work, or you can call it a hobby, or you can call it all of it at once.
Oh, sorry, we didn't push Lamp's audio there. We're good. Do we test check? Can we? There he is. No, we got him. Okay, we're fine.
You had me disabled?
you
had me disabled? Is that?
Did we have Lamp on mute there for a second? We're good? We're good? Oh, chat says we're fine. Okay.
All right, cool.
All right. Oh, yeah, you even said...
All audio problems directs to GCS.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. I wish I was half as cool as the people on stream. Oh, thank you, DK. All right. I forgot. I'm also from Canada. There you go. You said something. I should have said that. All right.
Yeah, you didn't even apologize. Come on.
I know. Yeah.
All right.
I could say that I'm Canadian as well.
All right. Kyle, you want to take it away?
Yeah, I got. So I'm Kyle. You can know me on the Discord as Kyle as well. I'm the player experience specialist here, so I kind of deal with the customer service side of the game. So either you really like me or you really hate me, one of those two things. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like a fun fact about myself. I am of course Eric Bethke's son, so I was in fact lived on the boat for him for a couple of years. It was an amazing experience. I also was a amateur fighter for a little while. Fun fact for that. Just throw that in there. But yeah.
Nice.
And some of you guys might know me. I'm Mitch. I'm the lead game designer on Million on Mars. But of course, I am but one person on a team of 20 who really collectively are the ones responsible for allowing us to move so fast and to build so much. It's so awesome to have all you guys here. We're so excited to be able to talk about the game, answer any of your questions, and allow you all to get to know us a little bit better as well.
Yeah. Hi guys, we love you. There you go. I suppose for you guys, if you want to see the chat, you can bring up the Twitch in another window, follow along if you feel like it. I'll pull out anything that's like super important if anyone's hollering at anybody in particular, so. But yeah. So you're welcome to ask questions in chat. This is a strategy focused stream. We're gonna take some questions at the end. We'll maybe throw some into the question list here. I want a gift package. Maybe we'll see. Okay, sure. Now's a good time, I suppose. At the end of the stream today, we will be giving away the Gen 2 Mint 1 land plot to one person. Somebody from the chat here. We'll send out a form. You can fill it out. You can get back to us. Free land. Yep. And we're going to draw that one later. That land happens to be right next to the newly minted and placed Leon Dusk Super Straw. So it's a fun one. Okay. Let's throw some questions out there. Let's see what people have to say. So, if you guys were a new player coming into the game today, which packs would you be most interested in buying, and like which ones get you started, which ones get you playing, and which ones would you consider more of a longer term investment? Anyone want to take it? Anyone want to jump in?
I would answer, but my kids are crying right now. I'm going to let... Yeah, go ahead, Lamb.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we got you.
Okay, so right now I think there's an obvious first purchase when you're joining the game, which is these premium access passes. So these access passes, they come with a land plot, they come with a guaranteed copy of the different core blueprints, as well as some starter power cells. So this is a good way to make sure that you load up the game, you can start having land ownership, you can start getting some resource crafting going, and you have Dusk withdrawal already unlocked because you're a landowner. And that's a really small investment. You're getting that land at a really great deal. So that's sort of that first purchase. No matter how much money you're bringing in, you'll probably want to start with that because there's just no reason not to.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a great first investment, people getting started, people getting going. So when we're looking at the market, we're looking at the huge variety of packs that we have out there. If people are looking for more of a longer term investment, not a pack they want to rip right away, but maybe something we want to hold for long term value, any of those in particular that you guys would look at?
Honestly, I think a lot of our limited supply packs are things that would be of opportunity for players to hold for longer term. The reason being is that as we continue to iterate and grow the game, as we expand into new generations and new iterations of our buildings and our blueprints, the early generation ones are effectively indestructible. And if there's any reason to hold on to something, it's for the fact that the future versions will not be, and that the players will be responsible for repairing and maintaining their buildings, in addition to being able to produce necessary goods. And so if you want to hold something, if you want to have a reason to hold something, know that the stuff that's going to be crafted and made in the future by players themselves will have maintenance costs directly or indirectly associated with them. So there is a value in being early and holding on to those things. But at the same time, those are the same resources and buildings that early on give you those advantages when you burn them and upgrade. When you burn and upgrade everything. So you get to make your own strategic choices on how you want to best play. And I think that's the most fun part about everything that's here, is that you get a wide range of different choices to work from.
And personally, I could never hold a pack, so I'm going to rip the pack and decide if I'm going to hold the contents that come out or not. That's my angle. If there's a pack and it has an open pack button, I don't know what you want from me. I gotta click it.
Personally, I was excited. I bought a founder land pack. I was like, it seems like a good long-term hold. Value's going to go up over time. I held it for a day before I had to trade it to someone. I was like, I'm going to open this. I'm going to lose all the value. I need to trade it away immediately.
Yeah. That will happen.
Same, never able to hold pack. Yeah, clearly, of course. All of chat feels the same way. Can't hold on to packs.
Yeah.
We make them too shiny and their opening animations are just too good.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so we did promise this one on Twitter, so we should address it. When ROI? So it was the big question. It was out there.
Oh, that was something that was wanted. Is that a request? I missed that. I promise we will work on adding that to our roadmap. It might take a little while though. You're going to have to be a little bit patient on that. Realistically, this is a subject that actually comes up pretty frequently, and we'll just touch on it for a second. This game is not like other games in which you expect just push a button, wait a couple of days, get ROI. This is an actual game and an economy you have to participate in order to get the most amount of value out of it. So if you want to maximize your earnings potential within the game, the best thing you can do is the cliche do your own research, except our player guide and our white paper will give you more insights into how to maximize your opportunities within our game than any other project makes available. So dive in deep, go hard, ask lots of questions, and you maximize what your potential is by actually participating in the game.
And participating specifically in the in-game marketplace. You have to buy goods, produce goods, sell those goods, and try to make a return on that crafting process. And if you're just sitting on your scavenging loot or sitting on your produced products and not selling them off to players or using them in a higher tier recipe, that's where you're sitting on lost ROI.
Agreed.
Yeah. I was gonna say, if we're talking about like in-game stuff that we're using to earn Dusk, anyone have like a favorite building they've enjoyed, something that they found good returns on that they want to talk about a little bit?
So I mean, earlier on, a few weeks ago, it was the machine shop for sure. So we had these other buildings. We had the rovers that were drawing demand for these metals. You needed titanium, you needed aluminum, you needed steel to craft your rovers, and we also had the cantinas, which are this sort of mission-based building where you gather certain resources and you send these people out, these arbitrary people out on these missions, like transporting ice or you know doing other things with a bunch of seeds, grinding them up to repurpose them and that sort of thing. And you need cantina coins to drive those missions, which also took that aluminum and titanium plates. So the demand for these plates was just enormous. And so if you could just maximize as many slots as you could, crafting aluminum and titanium, smelting it, and then plating it, that was huge. And so that was my favorite supply chain for a while there. But then things change up in the economy. Things are always moving, and the demand for those plates dropped a little bit, and things shift. And so now the focus for me has been these new tea shop missions, which are again, it's sort of like the cantina. You have these high reward, high risk missions where you could lose it all, or you could have a really big sale. Some of the lore behind those are like some of the first. The way I see it, I don't have any confirmation on this lore, but they have these interesting names like Ceramics by Yingge, and so I think of it like these people are some of like the early settlers to Mars, and they're really high risk. They're doing these crazy things like making this Martian regolith ceramics, and they're trying to ship them back to Earth to make a living as they're settling on Mars. And so these things can have no payout, or they can have this huge payout if the shipment makes it to Earth successfully, and you get this big payday. So I've been having fun with those. And I know Nick has his take on gambling.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk a little bit about my preferred method of earning Dusk, but it's not for the faint of heart, so...
That's for sure.
Life on Mars is not without high risk, high reward opportunities, but not all of them in the game happen to fit that bill. And that's something that we strive for, is give you a range of ways in which you can make either strategic, investments and decisions, or calculated or uncalculated risks.
Yeah, and I guess if anybody's been watching the market lately, the most uncalculated risk, just like straight profit right now, is charging those power cells. Because we're having new players flow into the game. All these new players are having to charge their scavenging tools. People are trying to run rover missions now, which are huge power draws, and power cell prices just shot through the roof the last couple days here. So that right now there's a really good profit margin on crafting and selling those power cells.
Yeah.
I can talk a little bit about my chain. Compared to like Mitch and Lamp, I'm a very casual player. I have like solar panels. I got that going on. It's making me power cells. And I don't do too much calculation. I like the greenhouse just for the fact that it's simple. I like making food. I like making power. I'm actually a big fan of like the scavenging. I don't know, like the advanced scavenging, like getting that little bits of XP, just clicking out, like a simple, straightforward process for me. I like it a lot, and I don't make crazy amounts of profit, but I still do, I can still do stuff. I still can buy land using the Dusk work combination. But yeah, so I'm like really chill. I make coffee sometimes too. But yeah, I think straightforward, like, yeah, simply, you can literally just have solar panels in the game, making that, and that right there, I feel like works out well for me. So yeah.
Hey, Kyle, yeah, you mentioned the thing that like everybody needs to know is the Duskwork accommodation. That's the thing. You should all be saving up your daily rations, and then
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can afford the food and water to eat, you want to save those daily rations so you can turn those in for a 1 month, or you can hold them even longer for a 2 month or 3 month bigger reward for those.
Yeah. Okay, so we've tackled a little bit of sort of what investments we would make initially, and we've talked a little bit about some of the buildings. Do we want to maybe speculate on like some of the lore for any of these building, the names of the tasks that are out there?
Yes, I already talked a little bit about those tea shop people, and I really like my headcanon there that there's some of like the early settlers, and they're coming here on Mars early on is not for the faint of heart. And, they're trying to start a business here. And so, we have this ceramics business with Yingay and the whole mass producing Baiju and transporting it off planet, that kind of thing. And, like, where's he transporting it? Are there mining colonies on asteroids now, or is it just all going back to Earth? They can make alcohol on Earth already. So I like to think about where that Baiju is being shipped. I don't think we have any official confirmation on this lore yet. We just have the little flavor text on this stuff, I think, in the player guide. What other buildings have that kind of detail?
So I just, the amount of people who have been eating their rations makes me so sad.
Oh no, are people crying in chat?
Please stop eating your rations, everybody.
Unless you really need to. If you can't progress, if you get stuck without any energy, that's really when you should utilize one, I think.
Yes, I mean, so one of the ones I was going to talk about would be like the pirate radio, the rigs by Jack. Like, there's so much room for speculation on like who are these people and like what are their backgrounds and what could they be doing on Mars. And like the team is super open to hearing like your stories and your ideas and your headcanon of like what you think is going on in the game. Throw that in suggestions, shoot that our way. We love to hear what people think.
I think the pirate radio has the most like confirmed lore out of everything. Like where we have this situation where we're settling Mars, but Mars doesn't have an established communications infrastructure like Earth does. We don't have power lines across the whole surface of the planet. We don't have 5G towers across the surface of the planet. How do these different settlements across all the quadrangles of Mars? We have players on every end of Mars. How do they communicate? And so we have these pirate radios that players set up on their own land. And they are incentivized to do this with stamina and Dusk rewards for playing music in their local colony or however you want to think about that. And while doing this, we're setting up a communications network through these radios across the surface of the planet. And to that end, we have this global quest that you can view if you're on the globe page, our progress. And every player that plays a track in a pirate radio gives us progress on this. And at the very end, we get a reward of in-game music playback for our soundtrack. And if you haven't listened to the Million on Mars official soundtrack, you got to go listen to it. It's one of my favorite soundtracks that I've listened through. So I think the lore there is really interesting and has a lot of room for embellishment. We could think about, like you could throw in political rife, like with people trying to, get communications to do, their back deals. And you can think about, all the different angles of who's trying to communicate on Mars. Is this for, some darker operations? Is this the government? There's a lot of ways you can play the lore there, I think.
Yeah. I love how much comes through with all those special buildings and like all those named tasks. Super cool. Yeah, did Kyle or Mitch, did you want to talk about either of those or any of those tasks that you had in mind?
Like just speculation about it?
Yeah, if there's any tasks you thought was kind of cool, like any lore behind it.
I don't know. The Rusty Rigs by Jack has always like pulled me in. I always will spend like 20 Dusk on it every single day once. And then it's like, well, I just did it once, so I'll do it a second time, So I just imagine just a very shady dealer in Mars. And it's like he's got like, the old fashioned, spin the wheel kind of thing. And I'm just like a dumb, gullible guy who keeps spinning on it. And every time I get, regular thrice, I just look at it like, oh, well, anyways, let's try it again, So.
Yeah. I keep meeting Jack.
Yeah.
Meeting Jack behind the cantina, and he just keeps taking my money.
he keeps telling you maybe next time. Maybe next time, buddy. Yeah.
I'm ashamed to say Rusty and Dusty took 8,000 Dusk from me and gave me nothing. I have ice and regolith to show for it.
Oh,
they gave the treasury a lot though, and that's okay. That goes back for everybody. So it all comes full circle. I won't speculate too much on a lot of like the lore and the names of things because I'm half the team that comes up with those sort of things, and I don't want to. If there's anything I'm not going to spoil, it's going to be lore and narrative things because, truthfully, the people that are behind those aspects of the game those are there for them to share. I think because their contributions are worth recognizing and making sure that they're seen that it comes from them because. I suck at writing story and narrative. That's not my forte. I'm the spreadsheet guy that loves to just live inside the game economy and yeah. So I'll talk your ear off about anything economics.
So I guess in the tutorial that we have on the website now and in the video chapter that was released, we have this new character, Clara Arroway, who is I guess like a young college student age person that's trying to get an internship at Duskworks to either work on missions to Mars or go to Mars or something like that. And so I wonder in that story with Clara if we'll, see some of these other characters like Yingay and these other people from the tea shop. Obviously, I think we'll see Leon Dusk and Velma Patel, who are these like sort of corporate mega conglomerate leaders. And so I'm pretty excited to see how those chapters come out and the book that our CEO Carrie is writing as well, or novel, I guess what we call it.
So Mitch, good segue for just talking about some of the ROI on like early investments. So we tackled like packs, specifically buying like which ones are going to matter if you're a new player, which ones are good long-term investment, but like more specifically, we're not necessarily exact dollar values, but if you're like, a small amount, a medium amount, or a large amount of investment in the game, what kind of setups would you like suggest for those players?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the way I think of things is that the game right now is structured into what I would sort of classify in 3 different tiers. So initial tier is sort of your self-reliance and sort of self-sustainability tier, in which you're focused on just building your own food and water. You're able to sort of become self-reliant. You can charge power, make your own soil, plant your own crops, and filter your own water from ice. Once you've become comfortable with that sort of core loop, your ability to extend starts to really kind of to grow. And so you can move into secondary supply chains like making coffee, which is one extra building, but uses all 5 that all the other 4 I've previously mentioned as well. And if you really want to become ambitious, you probably need a little bit more land, given that these buildings are a much larger setup, but our in situ crafting for factories on Mars allows you to really move your production into a much larger scale. So that's where you're mining regolith out of the earth, you're smelting that into specific metals and ores, you're then processing those into plates, you're manufacturing those into constructed parts and materials needed for larger scale operations in the economy. And at the more elder part of our game that you can work towards, and this is sort of like the 3rd stage, is moving into actual larger scale productions. And so for that, it's largely done with like rovers, which you're able to first craft and you're able to send those out on missions. And then as we move into the sort of late stages of the game, it moves well beyond rovers, into which we really take into account the whole planet of Mars and everything that extends beyond this. We don't want to be just limited to survival and thriving on Mars. We have a much more ambitious plan of things like going to the moons of Mars or asteroid belts or even away missions on Earth. Like, these are not near-term things, but things that are on our roadmap and are part of our longer-term vision and what we're thinking about bringing to the game. We want this epic scale to really be realized in as we're sort of building things out, but we don't want to overcommit on all of the things that we could potentially do in the future without losing sight of everything that we're actually delivering in the near term. So that's sort of the way that we're thinking about things. It's only the beginning. This is early. This is only the first few phases. Yeah, for like Steve is saying, you might realize that methane will become a really essential source of it might become a really important fuel source for rockets and things like that in the future, because methane-based fuel cells are going to be an essential part of launching rockets on Mars. That's not just in our game, which may or may not actually be coming, but also is the way that things are often planned and have been speculated to be done in the future when humans are settling on Mars. There's this like big fat book that all of us love to read here called Mars City States. This has like 30 different plans for how humans can actually settle on Mars and become, a sustaining, civilization. And many of these things talk the same kind of, implement and suggest the same kind of ideas that we put in. We look at like CO2 capture and creating methane and, turning local sources and stuff into fuels and everything. So this is where we get a lot of our ideas from.
And so sort of to draw what Mitch said there back to the original question here, he mentioned these 3 tiers of progression that you can sort of play through. Theoretically, as you progress through these 3 tiers of play, your ROI is going to increase somewhat. Early on, you're in that survival phase. You're producing enough food and water to survive for yourself. You're earning a little bit of Dusk on top of that with the extra, you produce a little bit of excess, or you get a little bit of scavenging in, you sell that loot. So you have a little bit of ROI there. You progress into that middle phase where you're doing some of these a little bit more complex chains. You're getting out some intermediate products. These intermediate products have some sort of flip on the market for a little bit higher Dusk returns. So now you're feeding yourself, you're selling off excess food, you're selling off these intermediate products with some Dusk return. Your earnings are a little bit better. And then, once you get to that sort of elder stage where you're doing these massive production chains, you're producing these 4,000 Dusk value rovers and other bigger things like that. You have at this point significant excess water and food production or significant excess metal production. You can sell off all of those other productions there, and now your ROI is sort of getting towards the potentially towards the higher end, depending on how much you've invested to get to that point. So as you progress through those tiers, Mitch has envisioned, if you're playing efficiently and capitalizing on all those things, your ROI is theoretically going up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did like the way that you structured your tiers is going to perfectly follow the tutorial videos that are coming out. Here's your core buildings, here's your next set, here's your, like, it should progress really nicely to follow along if those are the investments that you're making and if that's the path that you're following.
Yeah. The thing you don't want to fall into is getting exactly stuck where you are and never progressing. Like if you join the game, you're scavenging, you're doing some jobs on the market, and you're earning a little bit of Dusk, and instead of saving up that 250 Dusk or 1,000 Dusk to buy a land, you just withdraw it and sell it. You're still stuck in that tier 1 of surviving and just working for minimal ROI. And so you're making some kind of ROI there, and eventually you'll have paid off your initial investment, but you're never going to increase if you don't make those big steps of getting your first land, installing your first building. If you don't progress through those tiers of play, you're going to be relatively set in stone, stuck in the groove that you're in. And so my recommendation would be, try always looking to where can I progress? Where can I improve my Martian settlement? Where can I make my colony more powerful?
Yeah. So next thing that I was going to start asking for everyone is, what is a regular day on Mars for each of you? Like, when you hop on, you log on for the day, what is, start to finish? When do you say that you started, and when do you call it a day? So for example, for me personally, I log on whenever my solar panels are ready to go so that I can collect all of my solar energy, and then I start dumping it into whichever buildings are open and ready to start crafting. So I'll start smelting if I've got regolith. I'll start making plates if I've got spare ore. Yeah, there you go. ZenB is doing the coffee chains. So yeah, what cycles are you running on a daily basis right now? Which buildings are you always turning on?
Yeah, sure. So I guess we can go around in a circle here. I'll go first. So the solar panels that I use, I only run my fully upgraded solar panels, and so the charging task takes 13 hours there. So it can roughly get it off when I wake up, and then before I in the late evening before I go to bed, and I can repeat that. So I wake up, I get my morning started on Earth here, and when I get to the game to play, the first thing I do, like you did, is I collect all those solar panels so that I can fuel the rest of everything that I'm going to do in that play session. First off, I'll reset all those solar panels. Got to have that next 13-hour loop going. And now at that point, I'll have roughly 350 charged solar panels or solar cells from that collect that I did there. And I use that to load up all of my rover works to send out all the rover missions for the day, because my upgraded rover works also take 13 hours. So they line up perfectly with my solar panels completed. So I get all those solar cells and I dump them right into the rover works. They're mostly gone already at that point. The rover works take almost all of my power cells. And then I start going through the rest of my buildings. So I'll dump 10 cells into my my water filters, my CADs to get my soil and water going so that I can continue growing my bamboo and sorghum, which are my main focuses right now. I've sort of moved past food. I'm doing these sort of higher level crops now, or different tier crops, I guess. And then the big one for me right now is making sure that all my Saboteur reactors are going, because like people have been talking about, methane seems pretty important. So I'm making sure I have my paper going, because we have these ideas about a library coming. We don't know when yet, but I'm making sure I've got paper, I've got methane, and that's where all of my extra power cells are going, is to those tasks. And so after I've set all those things up, it doesn't take too long. I 10, 15 minutes of a play session there. And then, maybe a few minutes every 4 hours, I'll log in, make sure that I get my pirate radio stamina, and I'll get another eat in, because the eat cooldown is about 4 hours as well. So that's what it looks like for me.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, I can go next. Mine's a lot simpler than that. Yeah, so I'll start off like how the rest of you guys will. I'll collect all my solar panels. I'll get all my power cells. right now I use my water filter. That's how I get my water, and then I have my greenhouses making food. I'm very simple, you know. I like for my ice, for my water filters, I scavenge all of that. I really need to get like at a Polar Express building or a mining rig one of these days. So I do that first off, and then I do have, I think I have 2 grind and brews I have going on. So I got little chain, so it depends on what chain I think I'm right now. Actually, I'm going to get some brewed coffee today, so that'll be very exciting. But yeah, very simple. So I just get, greenhouse for my food, water filters for my water, solar panels, and then I just make some coffee just because I just feel like that's, I don't know, aesthetically cool just to have this little setup of just food, water, and coffee. Very simple, man. And just scavenge. That's just all I do.
I love the coffee too. It's just not part of my daily chain. It's like every 2 weeks, I'll make a big batch of coffee for the next 2 weeks, and then I won't do coffee for those 2 weeks and come back to it. I love it.
I don't think I've consumed Mars coffee like since it came out.
Really, you're dropping so much stamina.
I'm embarrassed to admit, yeah.
Yeah.
Kyle's ahead of me there.
Fine. Yeah. I use everything, but largely for making sure that everything is functioning intentionally. I'm not a hardcore Uber player that's like trying to drive the markets or even maximize the amount of Dusk I'm earning. I generally try to have a relatively flat impact on the overall game economy itself, because that's just not my intent. My goal is, if I'm going to have any impact, will be over land development and maybe more of a passive settlement management approach, just because I have a bit of an unfair advantage, I would say, and I'm very conscious of that, and I'm not trying to. It hurts me and everyone far more for me to abuse access that I have than it does for me to play properly and to really just ensure that everyone else is having an enjoyable experience. And I find that I get my own meta game to play, which is literally as the economy guy versus everyone else inside of the game itself. And so my game is watching what everyone else is doing, reacting, and ensuring that we can drive a balance and a stability to the overall ecosystem. That's the most fun and enjoyable part of the game for me. But I will say, as an aside, like, my favorite recipe chain that I've built is still probably coffee. Like, I put a lot of time and effort into learning how that's made, and I do love geeking out talking about how closely we mirror the real world processes of growing coffee, just distilled down into a couple of days instead of a couple of years. But if you ever look up how coffee's made and you pay attention to the way it is in the game, I very closely tried to mirror it, and it was a really fun thing.
And of course, in this kind of game, we have to shrink it so that it's a game. It's not reality. If we wanted to build rovers from scratch, we'd be here for months probably getting those supply chains set up, but everything has to get shrinked a little bit.
Yeah, I think our form has to have some permission issues fixed.
Okay.
Might need to.
Yeah, just give me a little bit of time on that one.
No problem.
Is that the giveaway form?
Yeah, I'll get that sorted here in a bit. Yeah, let's just get something else out there. So, okay, yeah, here you go. So we'll talk about this for a little while, and I'll come and chime in my bit at the end, is players who want the fastest gains and don't mind taking losses or taking risks. How much can you gain? How quickly? What buildings can we talk about? That kind of thing. So we'll get that conversation rolling. I'll take a minute and I'll work on the form here.
Sure. So there's various buildings that you can use here with the varying levels of risk. The Cantina, for one, is relatively low risk. You acquire all these resources, you acquire these coins with your plates, and you send off these missions for a Dusk return. And there is, of course, a randomness window for that Dusk return. And the players, we've launched enough missions that we pretty much have those windows discovered. And I think they're actually published in the player guide now because it's become so discovered. And so there, you can get lower returns or you can get higher returns, but usually you're profiting either way. And you can drive relatively high throughput with this. With one level 5 Cantina, I think if you launch the 10 capacity missions in there of say the ice mission, you can get a few hundred Dusk back. And you probably put a couple hundred Dusk in. So you're looking somewhere in dozens to maybe 100 Dusk profit per Cantina at that. And that's relatively consistent. And towards the more risky end, we have the Tea House now, which has these various transportation missions and high input missions. Thousands of ice, thousands of regolith, dozens of Baiju, those kinds of inputs. Costing dozens to hundreds of Dusk to launch this task, and it can return almost nothing, or it can return a vast sum. Like one of them, it has the potential to return 0 Dusk or 5,000 Dusk. And of course, the 5,000 Dusk is much rarer. And so really to maximize ROI on these and sort of minimize your risk, you have to be prepared to run the task a lot of times. I think it's published in the player guide, the 5,000 Dusk return is about a 1% chance. So really you need to run, 50 to 150 of these to try to hit that 1% chance. And so you need to be prepared to have that level of input resources to make it through maybe the drought of not successfully hitting that 1%. Because if you hit a bunch of zeros or maybe just a bunch of 100s, you're going to be riding along making a loss until you get one of those successful missions to Earth with that task. And there's various tasks there that have those various levels of risk. Like only one of them can return 0. The rest they'll return. I think one returns 32 or like almost 1,000, and one returns 100 or 200 or 500 and something like that. And so there's different risk levels you can choose there, and it depends on what type of resources you're producing to minimize your costs and which types of resources you're willing to buy off the market. And so there's a lot of options that you can put into those risky missions there. And so that's I like the Cantina and the Tea House for that kind of stuff. The Dusk missions. I know GCS has his ideas on risky Dusk earning.
Yeah, I mean, so we touched on some of the special buildings. You'll get like a pretty steady return if you actually build and use your pirate radio. If you build and then tear it down, though, the gains. So for anyone who's hopped into some of those voice chats on the Discord and just seen the streams, you can build up your pirate radio and you can tear it down. I mean, you can do this with any building, but you'll get a range of shards in your return, right?
And when he says shards, those are upgrade shards that you use to upgrade buildings, if you're not familiar yet.
Yeah, and I think I might have even passed this range in the discussion to Mitch to talk about what those numbers actually look like and how devastating it can be and how last night was an outlier. Please don't do what I did.
Yeah. So our general risk versus reward profile and the way that we've done business or building dismantling is that you risk getting effectively 80% of the potential value of that building. So if it's leveled up a bunch, you could still lose 20% of its overall value in shards alone if you were to dismantle it. But if you were to dismantle it and get lucky, because on the other side of it, a lot of things in our game give ranges of potential value to help us. If there's enough variance, it allows us to really maintain a little bit more control over the inflation of the economy. And variance in reality is just more fun. Getting the same thing every time is not as fun as getting a surprise of something more. And so like variance is the most easy path of fun as a game designer. But on the other side of that 80% risk or 20% loss risk is a potential to gain 30% more than the actual item is worth. And so you have a 50% spread effectively with an overall weighting towards the positive of 10%. And so like our goal behind that is to always incentivize players. We want everyone to sort of feel like, well, I could just throw it all away and take a shot at getting that's worth more, but you'll need to have an extra blueprint to start with again when you're rebuilding it all back up. You don't get when you destroy the building, you're kind of clearing out that space. So there's strategy and planning that has to go in behind those decisions. And now those are very much advanced meta strategies, I guess I would call them, because of the risk return profile that you're exposing yourself to. It's not nearly as rational as it is to do other things like just farming and flipping power. It's not as simple and straightforward as scavenging and selling rover wires and profiting happily from that. That's the long and the short, I guess. Yeah.
And so the idea there, you have to have those duplicate buildings, because every time you tear it down, you don't get a blueprint back, you just get the shards. So you have to have a new one to install in its place to repeat the process. So if you have a stack of blueprints and you have a stack of Dusk to keep doing the upgrade fees, then on average, like Mitch said, it's 80 to 130. So you're going to get 105% value on average if you can keep the cycle going long enough to realize that average. Because you could get unlucky early on and have to recover from it and that sort of thing. So it is really high risk. Maybe, it's one of those things you can maybe try it once, and if you get lucky, then you're in a good place. If you get unlucky, then you have to recover from it. I've done it my fair share, but like GCS showed us on stream last night, if you dismantle a level 10 pirate radio, you stand to lose anywhere from 10,000 Dusk to gaining 15,000 Dusk. So it's this huge 25,000 Dusk random window. And of course, that's not guaranteed Dusk. That's if you were able to sell it on the player market to other players. So you have to account for that liquidity there as well. If your idea is to just immediately sell it all, but
if you're if you're taking 10,000 Dusk losses, you really don't have to worry about liquidity. So there's some upside there.
And I've certainly, I dismantled a few level 8 pirate radios, and I took 7,000 Dusk losses, and I one time gained 12,000, which set me back straight. And so it's risky, scary business.
Yeah. I think we talked a little bit about it for the people who happened to tune in on the voice chat last night, and my recommendation was like, don't do what I'm doing. Steadily build it up, earn your regular income. This is a very high risk activity. I mean, we could probably take this one because there's a question in chat that is right up Mitch's alley, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Happy to answer the question about the Cantina. So for anyone that's wondering about those sort of things, the Cantina, as Lamp was speaking to earlier, is designed to provide some high value ROI gigs or missions or whatever we want to call them, that you can take out excess resources with the combination of these Cantina coins that you're crafting and take them out and earn some Dusk. So right now, realistically speaking, it's driving up a really high rate of why power cells are so high up in value right now. So the way that we're going to be solving this, and this is, truth be told, if you look through the chats, we've said this from the beginning, the goal with Cantinas from the beginning is that it offers you a rotating daily set of missions or goals that you can do in those recipes. And so every day you come back, you should expect to see different missions available with different requirements. And so some days might have the nice juicy power cell tasks that can be really, really easy to flip for some profit or dump, sell those off. Other ones might require different resources that you may have excess of, or you might have to acquire in order to get a similar type of return. And of course, I'll say with full transparency, because we actually really do like talking about the intent and the reasoning behind our decisions, is that this allows the Cantina to act as an economic balancing force where we're able to effectively indirectly buy back resources from the excess of the player economy and keep things properly regulated and also provide an actual aspect of gameplay and fun along the way. So it helps us keep everything balanced. It also gives Dusk for people that have those extra resources. It's different and it's special every day. So and to answer the actual question about when it's happening, probably this weekend. It'll either get rolled out this weekend if I'm able to find the time for it, or it'll probably get rolled out on Monday, and you should start seeing it happening there. The expectation will be that those rotations happen at midnight GMT, so that would be in like an hour and a little bit from where we are now in terms of at the time of this recording, about when that switchover would happen. And then anything that you actually have actively in progress that's being made, nothing else ever gets lost. Those recipes are not gone. Everything will finish normally. It's just about what new tasks you can start will become available and switch over on that transitionary period. And that's just the beginning. There's going to be time-based stuff everywhere. Like I'm like a dog with a bone with this feature in terms of what I think we can do with it. Like I love the idea of happy hour events or weekend only content or things that happen on specific days of the week or holidays, times of the day. All these kind of things are possible with where we can make content accessible, available, or dynamic. And if anyone has ideas or suggestions about this same kind of stuff, come to the Discord, tell us your ideas about time-based things in the suggestions channel. We are always open ears for that.
I just want to quickly touch on a concept there with Mitch talking about economic balancing. When we get players to go to the market and sell their resources, you're earning Dusk, but another player out there is spending Dusk. And so that's an instance of Dusk changing hands between players. When we have missions reward you Dusk, like in the Cantina, that is what we call minting Dusk. So Dusk is being created out of the game economy from those missions being returning Dusk as a reward. So we balance those ideas with driving players to the market, and players doing these missions, and so it's a really interesting dynamic there with the different routes of Dusk coming into your hands.
So we're coming down to like 15 minutes left already. So I'm already going to start picking the questions I want to talk about instead of going through the whole list.
We could also lightning round the chat too if you want to just like go through a bunch.
I've been stacking up the ones they've been asking because like some of them are going to be great. Roverworks, how do I get this? Buy the Mines and Rovers pack. All right, so so the one I'm really interested in hearing is do you each have like a vision for yourself? Do you think of yourself like as a something in the game? Like early on, I think I was calling myself what was it? A performer at the cantina. I lived at the cantina. Now I live at the bazaar mostly, but like, do you think of yourself as like a coffee farmer or something or whatever? And like, how do you build yourself into the game, and how does it draw you in?
You guys go first.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So,
Yeah,
I guess. Kyle.
Go ahead, Kyle.
I don't know. I love when it comes to like games like these. I love the idea of farming. So I always think of myself as just like a lonely farmer sitting in my greenhouse. Just watching my crops. And just taking care of it. Yeah, I don't know. My biggest dream would just to be to have the biggest farm in Mars and just mind my own business, and that'd be my dream. It'd be so nice. Yeah.
I guess for me, I'm kind of, I have myself in the future a little bit. We've talked about these ideas of settlements and habitats. It's in the white paper as a future release, and I'm kind of looking towards that. Like, as I want to be like a settlement leader. I want to manage a settlement and like take care of my NPCs or my settlement members, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I like personally, I get really involved in like whichever task I'm currently doing and just going full tilt into it. Like right now I do everything from scratch. I don't really touch the marketplace. I get my own regolith, I smelt my own stuff, I make my own plates, and I am a rover builder. But I not by like buying and selling and trading, like I just build them myself from scratch, and I'm really like, it's a proud, exciting feeling to do the whole chain from scratch yourself and be able to say like, I built this. Okay, Steve, here, you can buy it from me, but I made it myself.
we can call you DIY Nick.
That's right.
Yeah.
I crafted it with my own 2 mouse buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think of my role a little differently. Obviously, my main role is I guess I call myself like the indirect. It's like the chairman of the Federal Reserve, right? Like I'm a guy that's literally looking at the economic flows and then trying to ensure that the overall like health of the game economy is as well adjusted as it can be. Nightshade asked a question talking about like whales having an impact on the Dusk value by how much they might have or be taking out of our game economy. The reality is that we're watching these things from every angle, from every perspective of impact and investment that players have. We watch the rates at which players are earning Dusk, reinvesting Dusk, withdrawing Dusk from both the landowner perspective and the non-landing owner, aspiring landowner perspective as well, so that we can make sure that we are prepared for those impacts. Because early on when we launched, we didn't totally have our footing right. I call this the falling knife problem, where when you launch a play to earn game, if you don't have enough sinks in place and you don't have enough things properly like balanced out, your token value can effectively start falling out from underneath you right on day 0 or day 1. And that's something that we've just always been conscious of. It's why we built so fast on new features and systems and content, so that we can stabilize as quickly as possible, and so that there's a never-ending list of new players that are eager to come into the game, play something fun, have a chance at like increasing their earning potential, having a great experience, and then making the choices on how they want to like enjoy the game or exit in the future. And I think that as long as we continue to develop new sources, new sinks, new systems, new things, new mountains, as I call them, right? There should just be a new mountain to conquer. Like the rover is the current big mountain in a lot of ways, especially for new players that are coming in. But as I've spoken to before, there are much bigger things on those horizons that are designed to be sort of that new level of ambition that players are always looking towards.
And to be honest, on the whale part, so far, to my knowledge, whales are mostly driving the value of Dusk up and depositing Dusk. I don't know of many whales taking Dusk out of the game yet. I think it's mostly the mass of smaller players that are taking their regular ROI withdrawal. And so the whales are actually helping us combat that by buying up Dusk on Alcor and bringing it into the game. So far, at least, from what I've seen.
I really like saying there's new mountains coming, so that someone can be like what I'm doing now, but for each new thing that comes out, there is going to be someone who specializes particularly. Oh, what a great segue. If we start developing skill sets and like skill trees, and you become really good at one specific thing, I think maybe
imagine skill leaderboards there. You could be the best on Mars at this thing. You are the highest skilled artisan of blank. you know?
Yeah. Like you know, obviously there are going to be a few more entry level people, but if you're the guy who's the best at smelting anywhere on Mars, everyone wants to hire you. Get these ores pumped out as fast as you can. Come work in my settlement.
And you won't take a cheap rate for that either when you have those high tier skills that are required for that. So that's the part that we're all working towards, is that specialization, so that just doing basic tasks where you would get paid one dusk for your stamina, that's a great way to start. But if you've invested thousands of stamina over weeks of play and have really invested your and developed your progression in this game, in which you've gone down specific paths of specialization so that you are an expert at life science, at growing food, or at cooking, at preparing food, or at mining or scavenging, or any of the other skill trees that we're going to be rolling out. Alpha, by the way. Uh, those are those are those are all things that are designed that you have to have as we expand out our offerings. Specific recipes, specific tasks will require you to have those required skills, and if you don't have them, you have to hire a player that does. And those players that have invested the amount of stamina required to get there probably won't take those tasks for one dusk of stamina. They will expect a higher commanding rate, just like the real world, right? You got a lot of professional experience in the real world in a job or a field. You're able to command a higher salary for that. These are the same real world economic principles that we are trying to imbue inside of the game as well.
Yeah. Oh, I will just take this question here. It's not really a question, but a bit of a statement. Our leading thing, we talked a little bit about this in voice chat last night, how we're not looking at a violent, shooter something, bullets on Mars. Like, that's not the vision for the game. That's not the direction that we're headed for PvP. What we want to see in the future is something sport-based, something competition with, rovers racing or rovers battling. We don't want yes,
PvP by way of entertainment,
mm-hmm.
not by conflict. That's what we want. We want people to collectively be entertained by the player versus player experiences that are made available, but without having to be forced into them.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And also PvP by competition. So like striving to take the top positions of leaderboards in different production rates, or any other sort of quantitative value you can think of there.
I'll take this one. So, possible to ask specific people to do the job that you set up. So I don't think it'll be as much like, I need you to do this job, but it'll be, does someone have the skill set to take this? Because if you don't, no one can work it. But like, I think that's kind of the idea there.
Yep. Yeah, we're making some overhauls to the way the job board and the job system works right now because of the friction that players are having. I'm sure anyone here who's had to try to find a job in the game has not had the best of time. It's a indirect sort of high friction PvP type experience that is actually the opposite of what we've been trying to build. And it's a very indirect, what we call success problem as a result of just so many people fighting for those jobs. We expect that this will stabilize out a lot with specialization, but we are changing the way in which the players that are trying to find jobs are able to actually participate in this system. So to be more where the players that are spending their stamina for jobs are bidding how much they're willing to spend, the minimum amount they're expecting to be earning, and on top of that, the field and the skills that they want that stamina to be spent on. And so then it becomes more of a passive approach in which the players are bidding how much stamina they want to sort of find for jobs, with the one distinction between work orders being that you cannot cancel your job requests or your stamina offerings as a worker. So it's sort of like a blind bid with an opportunity cost, because you won't get that back if you set your rates too high. It's like standing in front of or basically like standing on the street saying that you're only willing to work for $20 an hour, and no one's willing to give you that, because in reality you're the only thing that you could really command with that type of experience on the street with a sign really is the minimum wage, probably, right? So that's really the way I think about those sort of things in a lot of ways.
Yeah. I am looking at this one and thinking we can tackle it carefully together. Is it possible we'll be renting things in the future rather than selling more land packs? Yeah. So what I wanted to say was, for bigger players out there who are looking at recruiting large groups of people and how could they best prepare themselves, what should they be building or focusing on, we want to get in touch with those people. We want them to reach out to us, and we want to get them engaged in the game and get them onboarded as best we can. the best thing that we can give to those players right now is to let them know to place your lands in the same area. Make a big potential settlement in the future. And yeah, that'll bring the sort of best benefits for larger players in the near future. Yeah. I think we'll tackle some of the lightning round ones that we can hit off the bottom here. But yeah, I definitely hit this first one. Roverworks, how do I get this? So there's, you could offer a large amount of Dusk in the in-game marketplace. Maybe someone will sell you one there. I'll try to get a big area set up. There you go.
The lesser known way to get a Roverworks is to gamble in the bazaar and have a really small chance on a house credit roll of getting a Roverworks. That's GCS's preferred route, which actually worked the other night. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Very small chance, I believe.
Very small chance.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So are we looking at embracing more people? Actually, yeah, advertising, embracing more people, getting the word out there. So actually, right after the stream today, we're going to be announcing a cross promotion with another game. So keep an eye out for that. It's coming like within an hour of the end of the stream here today. And some more promos coming in the near future as well. So yeah, absolutely, we're working with different people. We're getting the word out there. We're talking to all kinds of people. So were anything coming in from the chat that we want to talk about? Looking for 50 space today, wasn't finding much. Okay, yeah, so talking about Gen 2 lands and the ability to expand the land size, and can expanding land be achieved? So I think we talked a little bit about this in Discord, and I don't know if I think it was just an idea, so it's okay to talk about it here, right?
I think the answer is really not currently, but maybe, right? Like it's a spec we've talked about, in the chats on Discord, and people want to see it, and we're open to it, but we have to really think about how to do it.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to.
The thing that we're always trying to be conscious of when talking about land availability, land size, is how much of the existing land in the game is already being utilized. So we look at land utilization rates, and we also look at land floor prices. And so for us, unlike a lot of other land-based games, we're really focused on ensuring that the game is accessible at that low rate, especially for those like undeveloped common lands. And then we want beyond that for players to then have larger ranges of aspiration and potential with the developed land that has upgraded buildings on it and all that sort of thing.
Just to address some of the concerns, I see a lot of When Library. We're not here to talk about that today. Sorry, it's coming soon, and keep an eye out for more information, but we don't have that information currently. Sorry, everyone. But to tackle
Mitch might have that information. He's not.
We do not have that information available to give out right now.
Yeah.
I will say we generally do sales on Thursdays, and we didn't have it in the sale yesterday.
So can we go over basics of built upgrades as a refresher? That one, super easy, of course. So we can go to the player guide. The player guide has all that info. It'll give you everything you need to know about upgrades, the costs. If you happen to be around the Discord, you can actually do the little squiggle with upgrades, and it will the Million on Mars bot will handily provide you the upgrades links as well.
I do think that the player guide is currently lacking upgrade levels 6 through 10, and we'll try to get that in soon. I usually manage that particular table that gets put in there, so I'll try to do that this weekend so we can have that information out as well.
Yeah. If there's ever any links that people want added to Million on Mars bot, if there's things that you would like being connected more regularly that you're looking for, that's a DM to me. I'll happily address those. And I guess, let's see, do we have any final easy to tackle things before we call it a day here? Are we going to add mining shards to the bazaar? They are returned from the bazaar and they don't sell on the secondary.
Yeah, we really want people to use those. Like, we want them to sell on the secondary because the mining rig is an incredibly important building that's rather scarce, right? It's one of the least sold buildings, minted. We don't create that many of them because they're really powerful, and we want those shards to get utilized rather than burned. Is really the idea there. Yeah,
we want you to be able to make ice and regolith. Why are you taking away your own ability to make ice and regolith?
Yep.
I do like the question, how about O2? Why are we not breathing on Mars right now? And I guess the idea is there, we're building up O2 now so that we're ready for that when breathing on Mars does come, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't dump your O2 for pennies. I would maybe sell some if you need some Dusk, but I would collect some of it because it makes sense that breathing will be a thing on Mars in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For anyone asking questions that we may not be directly answering, just know that like our intent on this stream was to focus on like some very specific subjects. So if we aren't talking about specific things that you might have already heard about, just know that those are going to be things that we have entirely specifically dedicated AMAs towards. But for any of those questions that we don't answer, you can always come ask us in Discord.
Yeah. Today, I mean, like you heard, like anyone who hung out for the hour here, we were focusing on strategy, what we like about the game, what we're finding is engaging, what we're making Dusk by doing. I will do one last call out here to, this is the giveaway form. In case anyone missed it, you're welcome to throw your name in there. We will be doing the announcements for that giveaway on the Million on Mars Discord within an hour of the end of the stream here. And we'll get that land out to you as soon as we can. Any other questions and anything that people want to engage with, you're welcome to reach out to us all. We're, this is the team that is active on Discord. We're here. We're ready to answer your questions and engage with you. So we'll do one last thanks to everyone for coming out today and hanging out. Mitch, Kyle, Lamp. It was great talking to you. You're all fantastic people. And yeah, thank you all, chat, for hanging out and asking your questions. It's been a fantastic stream, and it's been great to talk to you all and make this connection. All right. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.
Take it easy, everybody.